we sort of have a field for
Hello?
searching keywords to replace the keyword section or something like that. Then we can just use the keywords just like we are searching PubMed using Math. They're by default.
Hello?
Hi everyone, Phil, the next one.
Searching all the abstract and title, they searching match them. So you can specify say, hey, search the title and search the abstract. Or we can specify say search the description as well.
We'll just start in a couple of minutes. I'm waiting for some more people to call in.
You have to convert your results to trade time, so you can purify again that script, then you get the trade keyword results. Okay. I'll send you the explanation.
I need because you have to combine all the together. I need the original patient file on my phone. Is that come to that?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
You mean original
patient file?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I'll send you.
Jeff is not on the call yet, so let's...
Trying to improve this, but I think primary just focus on this to improve the performance.
Oh.
There is a way we may actually figure out how to generate those keywords from other sections, like description.
Hello? Can you all hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, I can hear you.
We should get started.
Hi, this is Ian.
Hi, Ian.
Hello.
Maybe if we could wait for a couple minutes more. I'm waiting for Jeff to call in. To get started, in the room here I have Ergen, Todd, Divakar, Xiaoling, Hua, Trevor, Riling, and Nina. And on the call I have Dave, Huni, Ian, Nansu, Peter, Philip, and Wei. Did I miss anybody?
No, that's good. Thank you.
Just to let Peter and Philip know, the dates for the presentation were changed by Ram, and that has been rescheduled for 11th of October.
Okay,
This is for the pilot project. So on the agenda today, we are going to talk about updates on action items. And we had some communication from NIH with regard to engaging all stakeholders that are going to be using DataMed. And we also wanted to briefly talk about the testing process that we have currently planned for DataMed and partially implemented. The other point that they wanted to be discussed here is the discrete implementation of DataMed, which I think is something that probably we do want to do anyway. And today we'd like to have a brief demo of the visualization module that Diwakar and Ruiling have been working with. We also want to discuss the data type technology that we need for DataMed so that we could actually have a good partitioning, because there have been some issues that are being reported where they're asking why repositories have been tagged with specific data types. So I think we probably want to have this done sooner than later. And if time permits, then we could just go over the spreadsheet that we have, which talks about who's doing what for mapping of the metadata to DAX 2.1. We had a meeting yesterday where we talked more about this and came up with a plan, but we can talk about that later.
Hey, this is Jeff. My other meeting ran long.
So for the action items update for the video, Jeff, do we have?
Yes, the student has been working on that on the script, and he actually reached out for the high resolution image. So that's Devin, and so that's moving forward.
And
he'll be and he's getting the final sort of script and everything together in terms of the graphics and all that he's going to be using.
Okay. So for recording the timestamp, actually, it's been put in on the development server, and we need to do it in the DataMed server. But if we are going to have discrete implementations, updates and release of DataMed in terms of further things, I think then go ahead and start looking into that soon. For the link out discussion, the plan was to get someone from NCBI involved, and Ian was supposed to have contacted somebody. So Ian.
Yeah, so the all hands intervened, and I wasn't on the call last week, so sorry, I'll follow up on that one.
Okay. So for the usability analysis, we actually have what we've been calling phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 planned for usability and user testing. Todd, you just want to briefly talk about this?
Yeah, this was basically, what we did at the all hands meeting. So there's been 3 parts to this. The first was really remote use, and then again, there's sort of a preamble to this, which we did early on, right, which was the early needs analysis. So that's not represented here because that was done already.
It'll be better to speak up a little bit.
Yeah, let's move the speaker. So what I was saying was I have to turn away from the speaker to talk, unfortunately, to look at the slides. Before the phase 1, 2, and 3 that's on here, we did a separate needs analysis. That was before there was any code for DataMed, while we were just in the planning phases, and that informed the current design. And then we've also either met in person or remotely with folks sort of doing informal analyses of them using DataMed. And then sort of phase 2 was to basically solicit needs from the beta users or now current users. So there's a couple, one round was completed and we're looking at another round. We're also doing that in a couple different ways. So one of them is through the surveys, but another one is actually one-to-one evaluations, either in person or remotely, where we record the screen and they essentially give, they do their own queries, they work through it at their own pace, and we get their feedback on it. And those are always followed up with a survey at the end. And then actually, I guess 3 here, is actually should be a summative test. So we're actually, the summative test is more of, for the current version of DataMed, more of a controlled experiment. And that's what I spent most of the time at the all hands meeting talking about. So we are working with Working Group 9 on exactly how to design that. We've gone back and forth on whether to use a control. The IR folks say don't use a control. It's probably looking better to not use a control system because we can't really devise any appropriate control system at this point. So that would be us giving users a set of tasks that we decide on, most likely pulled from the technical evaluation because we have a gold standard for those. And then they would use DataMed to try to find those. We would have them tell us which ones are relevant for those queries, and then we would evaluate their performance there. So we picked 5 queries out of the technical evaluation that had a small number of relevant documents, because some of them have hundreds of relevant and thousands of partially relevant. And there's no way a human being is going to go through all of that in one, say, hour-long study.
So I guess the question is for engaging end users, one place where they're anyways being engaged is where we have them, if they agree to do it, fill out the survey for us. So the survey pops up every time a new session is started in DataMed. We've implemented it so that the survey pops up after 10 seconds, or when they get into the search results after 10 seconds of that, but we are fine-tuning that to make sure that if they have agreed to filling out the survey, then we remind them and try and get the survey filled out by the end users.
I think the important thing there is, right, we're refining what's there now. It's already implemented. However, right now it does open in another tab and it drops you into that tab. You still have your DataMed session there. So we're looking at whether we can just open it in a tab, tell them it's opened in a new tab, but keep the active tab on their DataMed session. Because if someone comes into DataMed and they've never used it before, then after a few clicks, there's no way they're going to be able to fill out that survey and with any useful information.
So the survey was mentioned earlier today in the exec call. My question was going to be, well, have we got any example results back from the survey? And I think thinking back to that call earlier, I think the answer is no, because it's not been put out there yet, right?
Yeah, I think we implemented it last week. So we haven't received anything from anybody yet.
So I think what Hua mentioned, or you, Anu, on the earlier call, was that there was some sort of decision needed about whether the survey could be released yet, and we could start asking people to fill it in. What might be the hold-up to that? Because it seems to me that the value of the survey and what it tells us about DataMed and what we can do with it might be much easier to see if we've actually got some input from this survey. So the question would be, is there anything preventing us making this survey go live?
No, Ian, the survey is live right now.
Okay, so has anybody filled it in yet?
No, not yet.
But we also want to hear from Ron, like maybe we also talk about sending out to some mailing lists. So that's actually, we want to know who we should send to.
Right, so the original plan, we plan to do this, but to get as much feedback as possible, we'd like to also send it out to a mailing list of, sort of known beta users or possible, users who we've interacted with but aren't part of the team.
Tom, this is Darway. I have a question about the testing. I'm thinking besides the survey, it may be interesting to have some examples to demonstrate the function of DataMed. I'm more thinking about, like, say, if the test that you have done that can maybe make a case, like, say, the DataMed can be used this way and can find this data. That
would be more on the help.
It's more like a tutorial,
right?
Is that what you're talking about?
I think like a tutorial, like to give people a sense how DataMed can be useful.
Okay. Is this will be related to the video we're making?
Okay.
I'm just checking with Anu. No, it's different.
No.
Okay.
The video is more like a promotional video. I think you're talking about the video that Jeff working on.
So it's more about promotion video and
No, yeah, that's one thing. I think there is another thing is that I'm interested to know that, say, if you're doing this testing, do you find something like, say, maybe there's some functionality that the DataMed was not designed to do, but maybe user discover it?
Oh, so you're talking about something like what DataMed can do and cannot do, something like that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we've had one round of testing and feedback, and that's all been categorized. There's a Tableau workbook, and I've presented that. I don't know when that was. I'm sure it's archived online. But we're also planning to do the same with the rest of the data. And in that one, we did take any of the issues that came up, including suggestions, they were put back into GitHub. And I think at this point, many of those have been addressed or at least discussed, if they were maybe suggestions for improvement.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But just backing up with what Dawei is suggesting here. So, I mean, there are a couple of things going on. One is, and if I understood part of what Dawei was asking about, is what would we point people to right now who said, hey, I want to use BioCaddy, I need some kind of introduction to it? What's the answer to what we have for that right now?
I guess we do not have any kind of tutorials built in yet.
So we've really done it by the live demos right now.
Yeah, right.
Right?
We have videos of Lucilla doing the demos, and those are all on YouTube. But I guess we can embed those on the website. But then there could be different use cases that we can then pick up and.
So a couple comments. So first, people are so used to searching on the web that realistically they're going to go to DataMed and start typing. They might use it for a while and then say, hey, what else is here, and look for some material, in which case having a help that says, here's the kinds of things you can do, or a FAQ, I think would be reasonable. And then including maybe pointers to YouTube, but the videos are probably the last thing they're going to look at because they just want to search for something, or they want to play with it, or once they're used to it, if it's useful, they're going to want to use it to get the book done. So, I mean, I know that there are PubMed training classes. I don't think I've ever gone to any. I've just used the interface, and I suspect many of us are like that.
I don't think I've ever been to a PubMed training class either, but I do as I use it, begin to have questions about, well, how does this thing work?
Right, and that's why I'm saying that having a help page and maybe a FAQ page, I think, would be good. Because we don't have much. There's the basic search and advanced search. There's the repository upload. And even a FAQ about, well, why should I make an account?
But I think you're also describing a useful behavior, which is that what people are used to doing is just going to it and saying, hey, I can work this thing out. how hard can this be? I'm just going to start searching. And I think capturing what people's experience is when they do that is important. But I think there are these questions that come up as well. But Dawei, I mean, there was a second part to what you were describing, which was to do with capturing the things that they found you can do just by exploring. But keeping it to the first thing at the moment, I mean, this idea of there being some kind of, as Todd describes it, FAQ or user guide or whatever, is that part of what you're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there could be a role for that. To the extent possible, I like to design interfaces that are discoverable. But you know, I think we used to have like a grayed out search in the search box. I think, do we still have that? So that makes it more discoverable. Or you know, there's little question marks where you can click and something pops up to tell you what something means or tooltips for what something means. So if, to the extent that we can do that, that's better than making them go read a help file. But yeah, there's probably a need for some online documentation and pointers to the video.
Right now in the health document, we just have information about how to do advanced search.
Okay.
But that's about it. We don't have anything else.
Well, that's excellent, Anu. I mean, you know, it means we don't have nothing. But I was really trying to ask Dawei whether that kind of thing, right, a description of what advanced search is, or basic search, is that part of what you were thinking would be helpful?
Yeah, I think there's some use cases for tutorial. I think that's one part of it, like to see if the user can perform the function that the data mat is building for. I think the advanced search, what I was thinking is that, like, say, maybe user, when they explore the tools, they may be able to find the use cases that we don't know before. And that, so like, if we have any observations that, you know, that coming from the things that we did not expect it.
Well, I'd like to make a connection of that with something that I was, wanted to put forward, which is, Todd's described a summative study, and it has 4 tasks in it, as we've discussed within Working Group 9. My inclination is that we've talked about this as being part of a third part of the user testing. So we have discussed it before, which is, besides those 4 tasks, we need more tasks than that, which have actually originated with the end users rather than ones that we've created for them. And I think that's along the same lines about what Dawei is referring to about.
Right, so that's part of the phase 1. That's part of those phase 1 studies, and remember phase 2 studies. And remember, all this is iterative. So we'll have more one-on-ones where the researchers use their own tasks to search for data sets. And I think one of my suggestions is, well, there's a lot that we can propose to tweak the user interface. However, the feedback is a good way of focusing us. Because, I mean, I personally see a lot of things, but, there's a lot we can do, and if it's not a problem, we should probably leave it for things that actually are problems. So if we can get the survey out to a broader group, I think that would be the next. We'll continue working on the summative design. We met about the technical evaluation today that's feeding into that. And, then we can also start planning the one-on-one and maybe getting some more one-on-one, a smaller set of folks. I'd like to get the survey feedback back, though. Some of it.
Yeah,
you don't have, it can be out there, but I just think that'll help us focus.
Yeah, I think it would be. I think it's a priority to get some survey feedback back, as well.
We haven't had any yet.
Right.
So for
so you referred to a
one-off
mailing list. You referred, Anu, to who we should send this out to.
Yeah, and the reason I say that is that in our first round that we did of one-on-ones, it uncovered a lot of confusions, and I believe those have all been addressed in the current version. So we really don't have feedback on this current version yet.
So Anu, you referred to getting this out to a list of people. What kind of list would you say that you have already of users of DataMed or potential users of DataMed, and how many people are on that list?
One would be actually users who signed up after version 5 or version 0.5, whose information we have already gotten in our system. And these people agreed to do some user testing for us. So those are potentially one set, because this new survey asks for a different kind of evaluation from the folks.
Mm-hmm.
And,
so how many people are on that list? I mean, when you say potentially, what's stopping us from just sending it out to? Not saying it's the only thing, but
so from what I hear, there are probably about 15 to 20 people on that list. The second one, 15 to 20.
Okay.
The second one would be, what I've been thinking is the BD2K community folks whom we sent out emails to earlier talking about DataMed. After release of version 0.5, after release of version 1.
You know, another thing is to go back, if we still have the contact information, maybe to the individuals in the needs analysis.
We do
because
have
those were all individuals who I think for the most part said, oh, I don't have a problem finding data. And then the more we talked to them, the more it turned out they did have problems finding data. So I have to check the IRB on that and see where that was to make sure we can recontact them. But if we can, that might be a good set of folks to get feedback from.
I mean, my suggestion would be this should go out to all of those groups as soon as possible, and let's keep track of who's been notified, and then we can look at who's been notified and say, is that enough? Does it have enough diversity in it of the right kinds? And who else do we need to get survey results from?
Okay, yeah, let's reach out to the maximum.
Okay.
Okay,
so for round,
so we move. Oh,
sorry, I just have a quick question. For round 2 and also for the summative testing, we do need naive users of DataMed?
Summative testing, if we don't want to test just learnability, we should get users who have used it somewhat. So we should solicit users, have them, and tell them to go ahead and use it for their own queries. I think that's better, because otherwise you can get extreme variation in expectations, but if they've at least used it a little bit, we'll get more consistent results, and they'll have time to also develop better feedback.
So Ian and Dave, I wonder if we could get some help from you to suggest users for us to do round 2 then, because then we can have people who interacted for phase 2 to do summative testing later, right?
Right.
Sure. I mean, just to clarify, we're talking about for the summative testing, yes? And you're talking about naive users.
This is why I quit using phases, because it's so iterative that we're getting confused.
So summative testing is going to come a little later. So for what I was asking is to have some suggestions of users that we could recruit for round 2, where there'd be beta testers, and they would use their own queries, and we just find out what they think about DataMed.
Are we still on the question of the survey here? I mean, these are people.
No, this is not the survey. This is going to be a one-on-one.
That's phase 1. So that's why let's call it one-on-one. That's why I switched. I use different language in the all-hands meeting. There's survey only, then there's the one-on-one evaluations, and then there's the summative tests.
Right, survey only is phase 1.
Well, let's stop using the phases.
Because I think that's how we wrote the IRB, which is why it's still in my mind.
Well,
okay.
That's it's number 1 on the screen. No, okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's number 1 on the screen is survey.
Yep.
Number 2 is the one-on-one, where you would have, I think Meena did it for round 1, where she was actually on a call with them, and we were recording their screen to see exactly what they were doing, instead of just having them fill out a survey. But they were still using their own queries to find the data that they are interested in.
Right.
And number 3 is what we've been calling summative testing.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. That's sort of where I was with it. But it was a confusion with round 2 was a bit.
Yeah, that's why if we want to keep 1, 2, and 3, we should put the semantic tags next to it, I think. Because this is all completely iterative now, and in fact, when we do the one-on-one, we'll end up giving them the same survey at the end. So, because we want that survey feedback as well from them. So that's why I'm saying, one-on-one, survey only, and then summative.
Yeah, I know this is that way. I think it's definitely we want to help. I think it may be a little easier if you have a little description, like what kind of things you need. I think for round 3 and 2, and maybe we can think about to recruit somebody from our end.
Okay. Yeah. So the summative testing will depend on the tasks that we pick, because we'll need individuals who understand those queries enough, the domain of the queries, to be able to judge relevance of the data sets that come back. And at this point, we picked tentatively the 4 or 5 queries. However, we need to review the technical evaluation and look at how it lines up with BioCaddy right now, which we started to work on before we finalize that.
Okay.
But just to back up then, to understand the survey, number 1, do we have a plan in place for getting that survey underway? Anu, I mean, we've discussed it a bit here, but I'm not sure whether we have. All right, okay.
We can, we will send it out today after this meeting.
Okay. I mean, and do we have a target for when we would have some survey results back? What do you think is reasonable?
I mean, I would think if they don't respond within a week, they're probably not going to respond. It's fallen off their mailbox by then or been deleted. Now, we still may get, from the pop-up, we may get others responding. But again, I don't know, has anyone checked how many new users or just users we have per day?
Per day.
No, I think very few people really registered.
Right. So most likely we'll get most of our responses through an email solicitation. And that should be fairly fast.
And on and the other thing on number 2, Anu, is you're asking for names from us.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, I
if
would
we
also
want to have
suggest
a broad base
yes.
of users for number 2, where we are recruiting not just biologists, like we want to have maybe people from repositories and other people, then I guess I can actually list out the potential stakeholders and then send it out and see if we want to distribute the users among them.
Does anyone know if there's a better day to send out a survey?
We've got communications people here who I could ask that question to.
Well, I'm just thinking on the weekends I receive less work-related email.
And that's a good thing?
Well, I don't know. I'm sure someone studied it.
It sounds like a good thing to me.
Well, the trouble is, if I get that on the weekend, right, I mean, am I going to say, oh, it's work-related, I'll wait till well, I wouldn't do that because I'm working on the weekends, but, someone may say, oh, I'm not going to do it until Monday, and then you've got all this email build up Monday morning.
Tuesday's a good day. Really should be for Wednesday.
I mean, sending it over the holidays clearly would not be a good idea.
Right. So
I think
on.
during the working week is better.
In Ron's email, he also was talking about having discrete implementation of DataMed, and we talked about this briefly, and what we felt was that we can do that. The only thing is, since we are now doing monthly evaluations of DataMed, we probably will go back, do an evaluation, and then release it.
Each release we will write down what are the main changes.
Well, I mean, one of the things that should be built into this cycle, Anu, is say somebody puts an issue into GitHub, we would need to know which version that was, but then say some fix is made in a future version. What we're expecting, or what I'm expecting, is that person who complained, or whatever you want to call it, who put in an issue, owes the development team the respect of saying, well, the development team went and tried to address the issue I raised. I should then go and see whether they've satisfactorily resolved it, and that's the expectation that we should be setting for people. So in some way, we need to be able to close that loop through this method and say, all right, but issue number such and such, we fixed that in version 2 point whatever it is, or build whatever it is. It's now ready for you to go and see whether that's improved things. That's one of the main things we want to drive here. So I want to put that out there. It's not just, that's the reason for being able to do this, and we want to make sure that comes to fruition somehow.
Okay. Right now, what we have been doing is we have been contacting the person who actually reported the issue, and we have been directing them and saying, okay, we fixed the issue this way. Can you look at it? But we haven't really said, oh, we have a version 1.1 or 1.2 where we have resolved the issue that you reported. So maybe that's an additional thing that we can put in.
Well, you're doing what I'm describing in an informal way, which is fine. The difficulty is whether that scales. When you have 50 bugs, or 50 issues, or 50 suggestions, staying on top of it is harder, and so these mechanics here help that.
Okay. The only problem with that is since we collect, not all issues come to us directly on GitHub. So since we've been collecting from other sources where they don't necessarily have to log into anything, but they're simply able to report an issue by sending us an email. We have actually, up until now, we've tried to go back to them via email and say, thanks for reporting it. And this has been registered in the GitHub in this, and this is the issue number. And you can go follow up there as well. But this is what we have done to fix the issue. So that's just how it's gone so far. But I understand what you're saying. So for the visualization module, we want to have a demo of the module, and Divakar and Riling will, I just have a screenshot of it, but you can.
Oh, this one,
No.
oh, but the live one first.
You want the live one? Oh.
So for visualization, we have used similar strategy like the ICDEL, but in a reduced format. So we have a timeline and a word cloud as part of the visualizations.
You can scroll down.
I have no idea what to do. So the timeline sorts all of the returned results in ascending order of year and the number of results per year. And when you click, you can select, and then it will immediately filter out the results. If you do a control click, you can have multiple years selected, and then you can apply the multiple selections to update the results. In the same way, the word cloud also works in a similar way, where you can either click one word cloud to filter out the results, or you could have multiple by control clicks and then move down a little bit about the word cloud.
Two fingers.
Not two fingers, move up.
Don't push. Just two fingers.
Okay.
He needs back training.
No, we want to see the word cloud.
Yeah. I'm trying to scroll
Scroll
down.
the other way.
Right. Some Mac users configure that one way and others
Okay.
configure it the other way.
that's good.
Yeah, there you go.
So the word cloud also you can select multiple or single events and then filter out the results. So the next slide's ruling will tell where are we linking these data from the Elasticsearch nodes to generate these two visualizations. So these are more like visual facets, so that if you click, the results will return instead of creating a new results.
So when you click apply, does that apply both?
No, if you apply once, it will update. It won't consider what you have selected below.
I think Travis' question, you select a yes, you select a word cloud, it will apply both of them, right?
Yes.
Why is there no apply by word cloud?
Because I selected only one. So by default, if you select one, it will automatically update immediately.
So if I select benign, then like
you would
update the timeline.
it would have updated timeline also, everything.
Okay. So okay.
So as of now, we are having some trouble connecting to the backend.
Okay.
So that's why it's just a static interactions.
Right.
So the backend she'll present like what are we working to connect it to it, and then get some feedback on that.
So for the word cloud, is the logic that must contain benign. If you click benign, you're reading the filter.
Yes.
So these are filters actually. These are not keyword searches but filters.
Right. I wonder if you could give the user some indication of that.
That is filtering.
That is filtering.
Oh, what was filtered? Maybe you can display here next to this.
So
what was a keyword here? We could.
If you look at the original Delve at University of Kentucky, we have a visual indication above the results, and then you can also click the X and get rid of it.
So we had given in our IC Delve also the same thing.
Yeah.
So we can use the same thing to say.
It would say something like must contain.
So we can. Oh, that also is there in the. Okay. Again, I'm going to try. Yes, it will come here.
Oh, okay.
It will update, say, must contain or the full textual form of searching.
Yeah.
But we can update it there also so that you can click and close and remove it.
Okay.
Like in the IC Delve.
Okay. So the question here is really to get some feedback on the CDT team. If this is helpful for the user, should we implement this to the production side?
I have some ideas. I don't know if the performance would make it better, but would make it possible rather. But how much of a text description do we have?
So as I used a Liger cat, which uses formula for the mesh terms because mesh terms are not part of the document itself.
Okay.
So it's the same formula, and we are taking the text from the NLP service. So that will be the next flowchart to say where are the word clouds are coming from. So these are the fields from which we are going to collect the dates for the time charts.
Yeah, so we're trying to find a date field for the timeline chart. These repositories have been mapped to that 2.1, and there are 8 repositories. So we can, all of them have a date release field. So we can use these fields for the timeline chart. The problem is that for the gamma and the CVRG, the date release is under the dataset distribution while the others are under the dataset. So Jeff, do we need to remap the gamma and the CVRG?
CVRG was down for a week and a half, and their developer just came back and has restarted things. So Barack was going, I think he was crawling it today.
Okay.
But Jeff, the question is that the fields are going to be different.
They're all going to be the 2.1 dataset.date released. They're all going to be the same field.
Or it won't be distribution? What if you have different distributions for the data set?
Well, that's why, because some of the distributions don't have dates, so the 2.1 spec allows dates to be both in the distributions and at the data set level.
So if you have multiple distributions for the data set, which of those would, and if they have different dates, what would you use then for the data set itself?
For what we're using is the release of the primary data set data.
Okay. Okay. So immaterial of whatever it is, you will always have a data set date release.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So this is the workflow of how we will generate the data for word cloud. So first, user can search a word in DataMat. DataMat will return like hemagioma, and DataMat will return 29 search results. And so each search result contains some NLP.
Could you move the mic again so we can hear a bit better?
So DataMat will return 29 search results, and each search result contains NLP concepts generated by NLP web service. So we can see each, then we can calculate the frequency of each NLP concept, and we can use the Liger-Cat algorithm to rank the words and display using the word cloud.
You might mention the Liger-Cat, where it came from.
Mesh.
Well, no, it was.
Subnet.
Yeah, I don't think it's live anymore. When she
No,
said,
we only have the formula for
right,
the
but LigerCat was something that was done. I'm blanking on who did it now. It was part of a funded project where they used word clouds, and it used to be live. Last time I checked, it was no longer available. But the algorithm is available in a poster that they use to weight the words in the word cloud. It seemed reasonable, so we decided to use that here.
Yeah, and it's a free paper in PubMed, and they're used specifically for mesh terms to filter out common terms or give importance to mesh terms which are annotated in the articles themselves.
Right, because we didn't use it in the original Delve, which is hosted up at University of Kentucky. And what you would do is you do a search, that was for PubMed, and almost all your searches, the biggest term in the word cloud was humans or animals.
So to understand what you're putting into the NLP web service is simply the word that was searched, hemangioma, yes? And you're getting related concepts, and then you're looking for the frequency of those concepts in the search results, is that right?
I think the NLP concept from the metadata field or you run the NLP web service in the real time?
Oh, so I think it should be from the metadata we already mapped.
Right. So the NLP concept is process the title and description and is mapped and add in the ingestion pipeline. So it's the NLP field. So they just retrieve the records and get the NLP field and count the frequency and then generate the word count.
Because not many of the repositories have a big text description or any text fields.
So my next question, I have questions about performance that we can talk about later to see if we can enhance this and make it a little more dynamic. Do we know the percentage of data sets that actually have a fairly decent textual description?
Or that's fairly decent, I mean.
A paragraph.
All of clinical trials
an
and
abstract.
projects have text.
CDT.
Right.
Because what I would suggest is that we consider the other thing that Delve had, which was the original Delve had, which was a word tree. I think while we're with the technical eval that we talked about this morning, comparing BioCaddy, we need to return many more results. With 29, a user can look through it, but in the end, once we modify the search algorithm, it's going to be returning a lot. And then having the word cloud, having the temporal display perhaps, and then I think having a word tree would be very useful.
So would that weight against those data sets that don't have a description at all? Because there are some data sets that do not have a description.
We would use the title. If that's all we have, that's how. So the original Delve, there was just a title, it used the title. Yeah. And there's word trees available in D3, which is what we use. There's also a Google Charts one as well.
But these are not descriptive documents, right? So word tree would not give
No, some are. They have to have descriptions. So yeah, it's a way to dive down, and essentially, without actually going through all the results, you can see the common phrases that appear throughout those results. And I assume there will be common phrases. So we'd have to try it on maybe take a sample query, because you do it on the query results. So take some of our technical queries and see if it's useful before we spend time actually trying to implement and integrate it.
Yeah, but I also want to hear from others. What do you think about those two when you look at it? Do you think this is helpful for the team?
I mean, my reaction to that is like, and I'll be a broken record with this one, is don't ask me, ask the end users.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, because basically we're not implementing something very complicated. We did that. We do have some fancy graphs before, but this is more like similar to what we had learned from PubMed. They have the timeline things too. So yeah.
I mean, my reaction to the word cloud is, and I'm afraid this is because I know that I'm more over-analytical than the average user, but when I see something like that, my reaction to it is, well, what's that doing? Where did those words come from? I approach something like this like a scientific instrument, right? And is it can I trust the answers this instrument is giving me? And without, knowing how it works, that trust is hard to give.
So Ian, what we found using these for PubMed was that in one case we were showing it to an oncologist using a query that she was interested in, and this has happened multiple times, so it's kind of anecdotal, but there's many anecdotes. We brought up the word cloud, and she said, "Why is this?" And I forget what the word was. She said, "Why is this word in here?" Then she found another word and said, "It's interesting that that's coming up. I just realized the other day that medication was being used in this area. I hadn't known about it before." She was an expert in the area. The word cloud showed it immediately because it was a word cloud of several thousand documents from PubMed that she probably would have never gotten down and gone into all those abstracts. So I think there's, in some sense, I like what Hadley Wickham says. You can have formal models, but they don't surprise you, but visualizations can surprise you. And that is, the word cloud kind of gives an overview. It'll depend to some extent on the textual data we have, which is why I think this is potentially more limiting than using it for PubMed. But I still think it could be useful, and I can see ways to make it more useful.
Good. Okay.
I mean, it sounds from what you're describing there that, that's a useful thing that it's doing. Opening somebody's eyes to something they weren't aware of. But that's not sort of how would you use this to say, all right, I want to filter my data sets to stuff that's more relevant? That's something that would be in the
This is more towards user query formation. Right. So after your first keyword, instead of you guessing what should be the next keyword, the word cloud would give you a hint or would direct you towards what could be a more fruitful second keyword to add to your current keywords. So it's more like decreasing the user load for query formation.
Yeah, that's like you guys said, maybe get more user feedback on this. And meanwhile, anyone else have any comments on this? Or shall we?
Yeah, my comment is, I think the only way we'll get meaningful feedback on these sorts of features is to see what people do with them, right? Like either in the context of formal user testing or in informal user testing. Right. Put them on the features.
We can put it in to see how people use it. Yeah. Right. That's right.
Well, anyway, I want to do I want to do a little bit of usability tweaking, or see if we can do a little bit before we actually put it in.
Okay. My initial thought is that I would use this. I would find this very useful as a way to.
Personally, I would find it. I have found these very useful.
Okay. That's good. All right. Do we have anything more? 1 minute over. 1 minute over the.
I think we'll talk about this then next time.
Actually, I have one issue to mention. Jeff, last time we talked about once we expand to like a many more data report, we probably need a more robust server set up at the UCSD. You said that you can come up a configuration and we send to Rosila's team to start working on the server allocations. Did we actually start on this yet?
No, I'll send the email right now.
Okay. All right. Great. Yeah. Just make sure.
We can add it to next week's discussion too.
Okay. Just make sure we start this early, because it takes time, I think. All right. Okay. I think we'll stop here. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Okay, bye.
So what I was thinking was,
So for the
it would
search
be nice
data
if-
repository thing,